I'm Brianna Gottberg, a senior on the volleyball team. I would like to thank all of our current PEF members for your support of the Bears Club. Your contributions have made it possible for me and other student athletes here at Lenoir-Rhyne to fulfill our dreams of participating in intercollegiate athletics. If you are not currently a Bears Club member, I hope you will take this opportunity to join our team today. Thanks again for your support, and go Bears!
Well, thank you, John. It was an exciting Saturday afternoon. It was a hard-earned victory in triple overtime, obviously, against Tusculum, a hard-fought, wild football game. Some of us coaches were talking, we said we'd never been part of anything like that before. It was a wild football game, back and forth, and credit to Tusculum and their staff for the fight. And like I said, it's great to walk away without wanting to make one more play to win that thing. But it was a wild game, and there was a lot of things that have us celebrating, and there's a lot of things that have us scratching our head and seeing we got to make some improvements. But that being said, it was tough. It was hot. There was over 225 gradable plays in that game. It was a battle of condition and fatigue and mental toughness and all the things we preach and all the things our guys work out for all year long and through training camp and lifting and training. So credit to our guys for hanging in there. It was tough, and there were some great performances. Started on the defensive side of the ball, and anytime you give up, I think we gave up 477 yards passing and 6 touchdowns and 500 some yards of total offense. That obviously there's room, there's things to be fixed, and that'll keep you scratching your head if you're the head coach, the defense coordinator, or the secondary coach, which it certainly has. That being said, there were some beautiful things that happened out there on that field defensively for us. There were some magnificent performances. Starting obviously with Kyle Duggar. Kyle had a huge game for us. He had 8 tackles. He had an interception. He had a forced fumble to finish the game and a recovery on the last play of the game that ended up winning it. He also scooped and scored. He was all over the field, and he continues to make his presence felt for us week after week, and that's a great thing, and especially great considering he's just a freshman. So that bodes well for the future. Marcus Kincaid played well on the back end for us at safety. Marcus has been and continues to be a very productive player for us in the back end. Marcus had 10 tackles. He had 3 pass breakups. He also had the forced fumble on the one Kyle returned for a touchdown. So again, some great things out of Marcus. We had some other guys step in. Hunter Toomey came in a linebacker for his first extensive action, and he really played well for his first time out there seeing extensive action. He's a physical presence. He got some good pressure on the quarterback when he was blitzing as a linebacker, had a big hit on the quarterback one time, and made his presence felt. So that was encouraging. I thought also defensively we had a huge goal line stand in the fourth quarter, which is a huge play in the game. Anytime, that's the stuff championships are made of. When you can play goal line defense, you can win championships. And that was great to see. That was very encouraging. And then our defense did a super job with the sudden change situations. We had 3 turnovers offensively and 1 in the kicking game, and our defense only gave up 3 points in those sudden change opportunities. So spectacular job by our defense having a positive response to a negative occurrence out there. So that's winning the mental game and being ready, and proud of how our defense stepped up in that regard. Offensively, on the flip side, it was a couple different tales as well. One of a staggering numbers and prolific movement of the football. 591 yards rushing, 2 guys over 200 yards, which I think is the first time in the history of Lenoir-Rhyne football. We averaged almost 7 yards a carry, and you score. As a team, we scored 55 points. So you think, oh, that's all great. The reality is, there's a lot of things we need to do a lot better moving forward. To start with, we got to clean up our fundamentals associated with the football. We need to do a better job with the ball. We had twice stripped from us, not option fumbles, just ball carrying fumbles by our B backs, Mike and Kevin, and those guys are excellent players for us. But we gave it up twice inside the 10-yard line going in to score, and that opened the door back open for Tusculum to crawl back in it. Because if we stick that in there, those are the final nails in the coffin. And we let them off the hook offensively. So we had one Evan had one fumble that was lost, and then we had a couple others that ended up being on the ground. And we need to be an airtight group like we were in the first week and not like how we were in the third week. We need to be better with the ball. It'll break our heart. It'll end up breaking our heart consistently if we don't get better in that regard. But there were some great things that happened. Unfortunately, Joe Ray could not play. He was touch and go whether he'd be able to play, our All-American right tackle. He couldn't play. He couldn't, game time decision, and he couldn't push off and make it work. That being said, when one guy goes down, another young man gets an opportunity, and I was really pleased with how Jake Sutherland played at right tackle for us. His first college start in our opening league contest, and Jake Sutherland, he had 21 knockdowns and played the entire game at right tackle. And I think we had 95 gradable plays offensively. So he led our team in knockdowns in the offensive line and was very productive in his first start, which bodes well for him and his future. He made the most of his opportunity, and that's something we preach continually. You never know when your time is going to come, and he was ready when his time came, and we're proud of him for that. Evan obviously was highly productive, rushing for over 250 yards and 29 carries. Chris Dan Ivory played a whale of a game at slot. He got a lot of hard yards there, either keeping drives alive, getting first downs, or finding his way in the end zone twice. He's a heck of a football player and a pleasure to coach. And James Phillips continues to play well at slot. Him and Calvin Edwards are kind of unsung heroes back there, but they do a lot of the dirty work, and they're playing well. Dale Howard continues to be a stalwart up front, as does Jaleel Roberts, Jake Slagle. The O-line, anytime you're rushing for 590 yards, the guys up front deserve the bulk of the credit. And Coach Seamy and Coach Jesse Green, our graduate assistant on offense, those guys do a heck of a job with that offensive line. And even Coach DeBusk was complimentary, and didn't have to be so, just saying what a great job those guys do on the offensive line, and they certainly do. The kicking game, some great things. Hunter Hare had a super game. He's really stepping up and making strides. He was perfect 7 for 7 on our PATs and a perfect 2 for 2 in field goals. And Hunter's turned into a real weapon for us, to put points on the board and change field positions and all things that he can do. Does a super job kicking off as well, getting great hang time. He places the ball well. And our coverage units, both in our punt coverage and our kickoff coverage, were excellent all game long, which again is, football forever has been, again, a field position and will continue to be. So we need to be strong in that. We did get caught on a fake punt, a well-executed fake punt by Tusculum. They caught us. And they got us, and we need to be more sound that way and realize that tricks are for kids. But we got caught on that one, and we should have been expecting it. We were expecting it, just they got us. And it was a well executed scheme and plan, and sometimes they catch you. And then obviously we're having a struggle right now with the punt return game. It's in practice it all looks great, and you go out there in game time, and the stage lights get pretty bright. And it's different when there's the enemy aggressors running full speed towards you. So we need to clean that area of the game up, or else again it's going to continue to haunt us. So we think we got a solution to that riddle, but we won't know for sure till next Saturday. So again, great team victory on the road, adverse conditions. We learned a lot about ourselves. Certainly learned a lot of things that we do well. And we learned a lot about, there's some great teachable lessons and things we can do better, certainly. Looking forward to Limestone this week, another great challenge. Again, we're on the road for the 4th straight week. So again, we got the road warrior mentality. It's the first time we've ever played Limestone and been down to Gaffney. So we know it's a challenge. We have a good team we know waiting for us. They played Mars Hill right to the wire last week. It was a physical, tough football game. I think Limestone's a challenge. They're very physical defensively. I think they do a great job with their defensive schemes, probably as pressure-oriented as any defense we've seen. And they're going to be a challenge because they're talented. They have an All-American corner as well, and they're big and physical inside. So we have our hands full, no doubt there. Offensively, they're very balanced. They have a back rushing for over 100 yards a game. I believe Mays is his name. Their quarterback is a talent. He's been very efficient throwing the football, high completion rate. And obviously, with the struggles we've had defending the pass right now, I'm sure they're licking their chops watching that tape from the last game. So, again, it's a big challenge. Again, another road game. Limestone is in a scheduling affiliation with all the South Atlantic Conference. So, it's like a conference game, even though it's not a conference game. And we're going to get used to seeing them here just about every year. So, again, we're excited about the trip. We're excited about even taking the focus off of Limestone. We're excited internally about continuing to keep the arrow pointed up and having this football team, this young team we have, improve. We think there's a lot of room for improvement. We're excited about the direction we're going in. And again, we take it one game at a time, and optimally our goal is to be 1-0 this week. So again, we're excited about that. With that, I'll take any questions going back to last week versus Tusculum, or moving forward here towards Limestone Saints.
Are you able to give us any update on Joe Ray's status going into this week?
He's probable, but I don't know that it's 100%. We don't know really, because we've rested him through the weekend and he's gotten some light workouts, but we won't know probably till the end of the week and see how practices progress. Either today, Wednesday. Time is on our side, obviously.
After seeing the tape, are you confident in Sutherland, though, in the case that Joe Ray couldn't go, to once again step into that role?
Oh yeah, we're more than comfortable with Jake. Actually, I'm really just so pleased with how he played, because Joe Ray is at some point going to graduate and not be able to play here, and we'd like to have him play forever. But the reality is that's college football, and I'm just pleased with how Jake stepped up, and we're more than comfortable with Jake. He's not Joe Ray, but either is anywhere else in the country.
Coach, talk about the way your team responded, apart from on the field Saturday, how they responded after the loss to North Greenville.
Well, I think there was a positive response. I think we had our eyes open at North Greenville. We didn't play our best football. I don't think we handled the success of the first week well. We have a young, rather immature football team is what we have. We have 11 seniors. So there's learning lessons every day, and we're growing through those, and I was pleased with how we bounced back. Our effort was tremendous last Saturday. Now, our execution leaves some room to be desired in certain circumstances, but the effort was tremendous. And like I said, I think I'm pleased that we didn't let the North Greenville game beat us twice.
Can you talk about your play call decision to take a knee with time left on the clock and confirming the overtime?
Well, it was a pretty easy decision. There was 30-some seconds left, and we're not exactly an aerial express, to get the ball down the field. So that's a simple decision. We're playing to our strengths. We have opportunities in the passing game, but we certainly weren't completing them or protecting them last Saturday. So I thought our best chance is, I believe in our football team. I thought the longer we play, the harder it gets, the better we get, and I like our chances a lot better on a short field than a long field.
Kristen Ivory's really seemed to be your most consistent back so far this season. Just talk to us about how pleased you've been with him and what's really clicking for him to emerge as that top back.
Well, Chris Dan he's a talent. He's a great young man, and he plays hard. He has tremendous ball skills, and he has great confidence. He's a heck of a football player. He's a complete back. He played his best this past Saturday, and I'm not just talking from a production standpoint. He played well without the ball in his hands too, and has made strides that way when he is the lead blocker in some circumstances. So he's also doing a nice job when they choose to kick to him as a kickoff return. He does a nice job there, and he's just a weapon. He's a pleasure to coach, a first-class young man, and I'm glad he's here this season.
Will there be a conscious effort to continue feeding him the ball as more than others necessarily, or is it whoever's got the hot hand? Or
it's more of an instance of a hot hand. Certainly we're aware of Chris Dan's capabilities, and he's a special talent. I think anytime we have a few guys that are special talents obviously out there with the ball in their hands, so that's a good problem to have. But certainly he's a guy that we need to make sure possesses it more than a couple times in the course of a Saturday.
Is Saturday's win at Tusculum, as difficult as that was, triple OT, is that an example of what it's going to be like in South Atlantic Conference play this year on a week-to-week basis? Is it, last year, I think, of course, undefeated in conference, 3 or 4 wins that were 2 or 3 touchdown margins. Is it going to be a lot more difficult on the road this season?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, you got to people got to understand that there's good players and there's good coaches getting paid on scholarships. Those other institutions too, and they're working hard to beat us. And there's a target on our back. And we lost. I know everyone can read the media guide. We lost a lot of really good football players. They're not here anymore. That were some of the best players in the history of this school. So that's a challenge to replace them. You just don't. It's just not add instant water. You got to work back through it. And there's some youth that's out there on display right now. So I can't speak for the rest of the conference because I'm not watching anyone else but Limestone right now, and our focus on this game this week. I think I will say it's a talented conference. There's good football in the South Atlantic Conference, and there's good players and there's great coaches. So not to get too far ahead, but every game is going to be a challenge. And if we don't shore up some things, then they'll all be especially challenging. And so again, there's improvements to be made. The good thing is we have good players. We have good coaches, we have good schemes, and like I said, I see a lot of encouraging things considering the relative youth of our team.
Coach, you alluded to some turnovers in the red zone that kind of let Tusculum back into the ball game. How did you, as coaches, help make sure that the players maintain a mentality of going out there and winning and not getting discouraged as momentum sort of changed?
Yeah, it's discouraging, disappointing, and even worse than that. When you're going down, you have first and goal inside the 5-yard line, and then you drop the ball on just a dive play. So we need to be better than that, and our guys aspire to be better than that, obviously. But that is a challenge. It's a challenge, and wherever there's a challenge, that means there's an opportunity. And like I said, I thought our defense did a tremendous job responding to those opportunities. So proud of the way that responded, because that was one of the differences in the football game. We need to be more competent than that offensively and be a little more situationally aware of what's going on. And when it's inevitable and you're going down, we need to do a better job with our points of pressure with the football. On the flip side, twice there, the kids at Tusculum made great plays on the football. You got to tip your hat to them too. They're ball aware and they're working at it hard. And one time, we did have it locked away, and it just got ripped out of our hands. Number 11 for Tusculum made a great play. So again, it can't happen. There's no excuse for it. Every turnover is avoidable. As far as you're concerned as a coach or a player. Like I said, that could have changed. The scoreboard could have been a lot different had we been a little more efficient offensively.
You told me after the game that you all worked as hard on ball control as any team in the country. But what's the focus this week with shoring that up? And does it become this almost a mental thing where these players, when they're getting handed the ball, is there something in the back of their heads that would potentially lead to? No,
I don't think so. Our guys are confident. They're especially confident. Some of those, if you start worrying about too much, it becomes a phobia and it's almost suggestive, and it's not to that point. It's not. We pitched a perfect game in our first game of the season and didn't have the ball on the ground at all. So one time on a bad pitch that we recovered. So we're fine. We're fine. Now we don't need to go dribbling the ball over the field like the Harlem Globetrotters either. All right, but we're having a good time out there. We're playing fast. We live on the edge. We play on the edge, and we're too busy scoring touchdowns to worry sometimes. And our guys need to do a better job of keeping that thing locked up and practice fast and play fast and trust their habits. The worst thing you can ever tell a player is don't fumble. Then the first thing you do is put an image in the guy of what? Fumbling. All right, so you tell them, hey, great ball security, keep the ball locked, and then we go to work. But we have good players, and they got to trust their habits. Their fundamental associated football are drilled daily, and if they can keep practicing with the right habits, and then it'll show up in the game, and then we'll be happy at the end of the day.
Talk about recovery after a triple overtime game. Is that different than a regular four-quarter matchup? You're going to have to do things differently this week?
Well, we did back off. We came back Sunday just to run them. We come back and practice on Sundays, and that was a little bit more challenging this Sunday than most because we had a lot of guys get a lot of reps. And our defense played 100 snaps of defensive football, which is about 30 more than you typically play in a game. So there were some guys that were tired. There were some guys beyond tired, frankly. And then offensively, the same thing. The effort our guys play with and the speed and the velocity we play at, it's hard to play 95 snaps full speed. And to their credit, they did quite well. But hopefully we bounce back. I mean, we've had a lot of challenges thrown our way. We have another one. We don't have a choice but to bounce back. So we'll have a practice today and Wednesday, and then start ramping back up for Limestone on Saturday night.
A couple quarterbacks over the past couple weeks have had pretty darn good success against you guys. Is that a concern moving forward, or do you look at that as those were two highly capable guys under center right there?
Well, both. I mean, certainly we play some quality quarterbacks. I mean, the Tusculum quarterbacks leading the nation in passing right now. So, and they have they're difficult. Their passing schemes are difficult, and they got two featured receivers that you can't put your focus one place or you get it the other place. And they got us more than a couple times. We busted a couple coverages, which is really the concern. And aside from the coverage bust a few times, we actually played pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying great, but we were pretty solid aside from some coverage busts. And we had our nickel personnel in the entire game that game. Because they threw it 73 times. And after a while, it's hard to defend. And you're out there on the field, and it's 80 plus degrees, and you're playing 100 snaps, and it's hard to get a pass rush because they're in the shotgun every time, and you guys are getting tired, right? So the tempo of the college game makes it a challenge. It's hard to play good defense in college football because the variety of play and the tempo of the game is being played at. It's especially challenging, I think, to be a defensive coach right now in this day and age. Do we need to get better? Yeah, we need to get better. We need to play better coverage. We need to get better pressure. But I'm confident we will.
Was there any thought to call a timeout on the last possession that they had and they wanted to tie? I don't believe they had any left, so you probably didn't want to.
Yeah, I didn't want to give them a chance to get the right play called, and the clock was on our side. I wanted to run as much as possible. Certainly, it was a consideration. There was a few times there where, our defense was on the ropes a little bit, where, across our mind as a staff, and myself in particular, to just give our defense a chance to regroup. But that gives them a chance to regroup as well. So. Like I said, there's a million decisions in that game that we could have made and did make. I thought for the most part we did a nice job with the situational football and the decisions that went on there. They were made. You're not always going to be 100% as a coach in those decisions. There's always hindsight's a lot easier on Saturday night or Sunday morning. Obviously, I thought we made some tough decisions in that game to go for it in fourth down situations or as Leslie alluded to take a knee and fight for overtime. Made a decision in which goals to defend in overtime, whether it's a sun field or not. There's so many factors and variables going in the game, especially regarding our personnel with some guys out. There's just a lot that goes to it, and we try and be thoughtful and do our due diligence, and then you got to go play, and it all gets crazy out there on Saturdays and when the chaos hits.
The Sands being 1-0 this week, the step out of conference play this week, and Carson Newman next week. Do you, and the way the playoffs are set up in Division II, it's 7 teams. It doesn't matter if you're conference champion or not. This week is as important as next week. How do y'all? The
focus is always, the trap that's easy to fall into is looking ahead, and that's for everyone on every level of football, right? And that's why our mantra week in and week out is want to know this week, because none of it matters unless you are. All right, so our focus is on Limestone exclusively. They're going to be a heck of a challenge for us to go down there, and you can't get caught looking up or ahead at any time, at any point in the season, because everyone is good enough to beat you. And you have to respect the game, and you have to respect your opponent. And if you respect the game the right way, you'll go to work, and we'll have a good focused Tuesday practice, as that's the immediate concern right now, and we don't need to look beyond today, today at practice.
As a staff, is that something you will focus on more this week? You said a young, immature team, to make sure that they understand.
That we will. They sometimes, hopefully they're still tuning in. They get a pretty consistent message from myself and from our staff every week to keep the focus where it needs to be. And and especially with an inexperienced team. And there's always plenty of distractions, obviously. So we just need to get, like I said, keep our focus where it needs to be. We have improvement to do. We have improvement fundamentally to do. We have improvement in our coverage. We have improvement in our blocking, our tackling. We fundamentally need to become a better football team to beat everyone on our schedule. We're going to need to improve. And I think our guys are aware of that. And are they confident? Yes. Do they realize that we're not the 85 Bears right now? Yeah, they realize that too. I said the Chicago Bears, not the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears. Okay, we have work to do to be a great football team. Right now, you're not. All right, but there's work to be done, but our guys are really hungry. They're working hard, and again, there's a proud tradition here recently to uphold. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. Proud of the victory last week, but really looking forward to this competition this Saturday night in Limestone. It's going to be a whale of a football game. Like I said, it's close enough. It's close enough we can get a all-Bear Nation down there. We should have great support. It should be a great environment at the reservation down there in Gaffney, and really looking forward to this contest. Look forward to seeing you there. Go Bears.